Hello? 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 Hi, everybody. Oh me, oh my. What am I doing? What am I doing? Hello, Jaku. Hello, Holy Ears. Hello. I have my tea. Oh gosh, that's hot. Okay, wait. I have my tea. I have my water. I have a lot of junk on my desk, but that's okay. um, what did we do yesterday? I feel like we didn't do much yesterday. I'm good. I just woke up, but that's not true. I just got out of bed because I like to laze around after waking up and just scroll through my phone. Went on a walk, a little hike, a little detour, a big detour actually. I think we went like we did a whole U-turn. Pretty sure. We like went and then we went back and around. But that was just like one objective, right? We feel like we didn't do much, but it was a whole 3 hours. Hello? Okay. Alright. I'm pretty sure I left this in the room. Wow. Did you guys have a good sleep? Did you dream? I had a weird dream last night. I don't remember what it was about anymore, but there was okay, now it makes sense. Okay, wait, actually it makes sense. There was a baby. There was a baby in my dream. And like I think I was looking for its parents and trying to like give it back and stuff. It makes sense now that I'm playing this game. It's because of this. So, are we picking the glasses or let's do the hat? I like that he just like sits down. He's just a little guy. Whoa! Stop! So scary.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure.
Weapons
All
detected?
clear.
Oh, our
Welcome.
Granada.
Bridges.
Right? Our Granada. Ah, this is the Granada. Alright. Okay. We have to try that. Hugs used your watchtower.
Have a pleasant journey.
Oh, that's cool. I can see when people use my stuff.
Have a pleasant journey. Keep on keeping up.
Can I re-like these things? I can? I don't know if I like that before yet. Okay, so we're going. See, here's what I don't understand, because we were here and then it was like, go here, right? But then they were like, we have checkpoints that you can go to in between. Where were those checkpoints? Is it this? And then that? But I didn't go there at all.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Thanks. The cats are being rowdy. Okay, so we have a climbing anchor, climbing anchor. We don't have any bridges. Does it look like we'll need a bridge? There is a bridge. I wish the world thingy actually showed my waypoints properly because... Oh look, a ladder.
Call it a rule or a habit, but most mules
You took the mountain route, I did.
bring stolen shipments home with them. Find the post box, steal back the cargo. Simple as that. But be careful, these guys are armed. If this goes sideways, be ready to fight.
Fight with what? Attack V. Smack him! Oh, that's a punch. Smack him! Smack him! Oh, it's... Oh, kick! It's using his stamina. Thanks for the ladder. Only one? Only 2 likes? Hold on. Let's...
Over here!
What? Shout in the dark.
Today's a good day.
What? You
This one's
can...
for you.
You can yell. Is this game multiplayer? What was that? Dragonfly.
Anyone?
Someone's talking to me. What? Ah! Ah! I didn't go the route at all. Wait, I have to go back. What? What? What is this? Wait, I have to go back. I just keep getting lost, I guess. See, they didn't tell me anything about yelling. You know? I don't know how to do first person mode. Oh, there was a path, guys, this whole time. Okay. P-bad. Why? Why P-bad? Could probably lure BTs with it. We gotta try that now. But that means going to where there's... I heard that. Heckin' creepy. Why are there weird, like, random... random things to like? Thanks, Frank.
Always like the quiet.
Thanks
for the help. This one's for you.
That wasn't that good. F. Oh, there's like 2, like right next to each other. This one's fine too. Okay, I think we're at the...
Remember, Sam, before you approach the mule drop site, we recommend you use a watchtower to confirm the location of the post box containing our cargo.
Okay, so use a post box. So let's build it a little closer then. Maybe not that close. Hi, Cam. Hello, hello, Alchemy. Oh. Okay, wait. Should I build it right here? Oh, there's someone right there!
Mule drop sites are rarely deserted, so remaining undetected is key. Keep a low
I
profile
got
and move
scanned.
slowly to minimize noise.
2. A tower right here. Alright. Surely they won't be like, who put this tower here? Maybe there was someone there. Oh, hello! You are the V leader, welcome! How does one do this? What? Oh boy, I'm so glad I can see that. Maybe I should have built it over there instead. But it kind of shows me, right? Okay, I put a marker there. That's a person. And that's a person. Boots? Mule boots? Thank you for the head tat. This doesn't even show what those are. So I got scanned, but are they coming for me? Okay, hold on. Was it only one person? They're like separated. It's one and then one. Mule boots. Shoes! Actual shoes. It's not showing me that person. How to zoom out? T. Okay. They're pretty separated. Is it saying what he has on him? Like I can loot the boots off of him? Give me your shoes. Let's go beat him up. What if we drop everything we have? We don't really have anything. I'm about to get my butt whooped. How come people don't spam the likes? What are these? Leaves can serve as temporary footwear in an emergency. Oh, they look like sandals. Well, I don't need them. Emergency footwear, huh? So there's a chance that we'll be running around barefoot. That guy has weapons! He has a whole stick. What do I do?
Been spotted by a mule. Find somewhere to hold up. Look
Can
around.
I fight?
Trust your instincts.
Can I fight? Yeah! Heck you! Go away! Oh my god! We got hands! A ladder! Is he just knocked out? Oh, did I alert them? Is he snoozing? Oh, he missed! What a loser! Give me your shoes! Wait, did I drop it? On me back. That sounds like a very loud alarm that wasn't there before. Was I supposed to sneak? Loser! What was the button again? V? It's not hurting me. Get spammed. Okay, so you just
Been busy?
gotta throw
Seems
hands.
all the mules in your vicinity have been incapacitated.
Okay, so the people aren't even that scary. Why did I have to go all the way around? Up the mountain. Oh shoot. How do I take it? F? Yeah. Oh, I didn't take it at all. Take it. Yep. Might as well. Am I... Oh, boots! Am I full? I want these boots. Can I exchange them? Put on. Yeah! And now... Oh. I don't have Bridges boots anymore. To stay low and sneak, but... When did he say that? I may have forgotten that key detail. Listen, don't pay attention to these things. I'm on it. Everything goes on my back. And then auto arrange. Optimize. Is it optimized? You know what? Sure. Whoa! Okay. Anything good here? No? Alright. Well, now we can go back. Let's hope that they're still knocked out. Boy, it would suck if it started to rain. Oh, he's snoring. He's snoozing. Just don't wake up. If they died, wouldn't it trigger the crater? I think if it eats them in that thing. If you die to them. Because that guy got eaten. He was like trying to kill himself. So he wouldn't die to those things, you know? Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. You got this, buddy. You got this. It's just... Uh-huh. This doesn't look that bad. Yeah, just go the way we came. Yeah! There we go. Thanks, Elendil. You're the best. What is the necro? I don't know. The what? Is that in the... Is there a codex that we can read? No P. Do we have P? Whoops. Do we have pee? Doesn't even say we can pee anymore. Take the ladder. Take the ladder. Careful. Careful. Carefully. Yes. Wah. Yay.
Mules. Damn addicts chasing a cargo high. Shame we gotta deal with their bullshit at all. Back in the day, AI did everything. Deliveries were handled by unmanned
Come on,
vehicles and
please
drones.
walk.
All we had to do was sit back and let them work. It was
What?
revolutionary. Damn near singularity. No
AIs?
reason for it not to take off, but it didn't. People didn't like it when we took the human element out of the service industry. So, after some consideration, we put it back in. Made jobs no one really needed and gave them to folks who couldn't live without them. And from there, it snowballed. Now we got cults of cargo-chasing crazies who get off on hijacking shipments. Jackal's always on the lookout for the next order. Make sure you're not him.
Okay. I'm good. We got hands. Why couldn't I take their stick thingy? Why don't I have walking sticks? Don't people use walking sticks on a hike? Okay, calm down, buddy. Why are there so many, like,
Beginning scan. Scanning
things to like?
bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. Cargo verified. Thank you.
Yay! What is this supposed to be? Warning. But why? Okay, now we can jog. A little faster, Sammy boy. Oh, these boots kind of wear down a lot fast. Woo! Faster than our Bridges boots. Stop!
Decontaminating. Have a pleasant journey. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Sam Porter Bridges. People just spam random things to be like, oh. When art imitates, like, oh my god, please stop. Art imitates life. Lost cargo first. Get this off my back! Thanks.
Back, are you? You trying to put the rest of us to shame?
Yeah!
Fine by me.
Oh no, skip on. Woo! 33? Weren't we just 22? Hold on, I'm pulling up my infuser. Ah, it's hot! Discord real quick. Huh? Ah?
See you around. Good work.
boy. Okay. Take delivery. Confirm.
Time to get that chiral printer in working order.
We can have the
Sorry
bike
to put you
back.
through so much trouble, but trust me, it'll be worth it.
Oh boy. Me? On a bike?
Excellent. The unit doesn't have a scratch on it. Never doubted you'd come through for us.
I'm just that good. Oh, you have to turn the auto skip on.
Sam, how are your shoes holding up? Not too well, I imagine. Conditions being what they are out there. Nothing ruins
We can
your day
make
like
it.
shoes falling apart while you're on the job. Carry on like that, and it's only a matter of time before you injure yourself. I've arranged for boots to be added to your supplies. Bridges standard issue, so they ought to fit you fine. You should always carry an extra pair. But if you forget or run into trouble, you can fabricate another via a terminal at one of our many facilities.
They couldn't have given this to me earlier. I guess I'll take it now. Okay. Necrosis and the ancient Egyptian view of life and death. 2 years ago, distribution center west of capital Knot City, the Chiral Network one. We'll read the necrosis thing to figure out what that's about. What else are they withholding from us? Right? Bridge. Added data for a new structure in your... We don't have to use ladders anymore?
See you around.
Oh, hey.
Congratulations, Sam. I understand you now have access to a chiral printer. An extraordinarily useful device that can only function because
This
of
is
the manner
Hartman,
in
right?
which our network utilizes the beach, enabling us to transfer massive volumes of data instantaneously. Since under normal circumstances, such transfers would take hours, if not days, some have speculated that the chiral network might, in essence, be a time machine. That it is transmitting data into the past.
Okay.
Suffice it to say, we have yet to fully grasp the fundamental nature of the network and the beach which we have come to rely on.
You see when
What
I'm
might
drinking
liken our
tea.
relationship to that of primitive mans with fire. Is it useful? Quite. Is it dangerous? Undeniably so. Nevertheless, we have decided that the reward outweighs the risk. Furthermore, as the BTs are linked to the beach, it stands to reason that further study and experimentation could be of considerable benefit. The same could be said regarding you, of course.
Guys, I
Rest
wasn't
assured,
paying
I
attention.
will keep you
I
apprised
blacked
of
out. What
time.
happened?
You have my word.
What was the TLDR?
Good work. New order available. Please access delivery terminal for further information.
What? Hold on. Data. Interviews. Necrosis. Here we go. The Egyptians believed that we humans were composed of two elements, the Ha and the Ka, the body and the soul. Various texts expound upon their nature in detail, but perhaps it is simplest to conceive of them as follows. The soul is that which joins with the child in the womb and gives life to the body. It is also that which departs the body upon death. Ergo, the body is simply a vessel. Should the soul return to it, it will live again. This is precisely what is observed in near-death experiences, a soul separated, albeit briefly. That's how you pronounce it, right? Albeit from its body. The Egyptians believed death not to be an instantaneous change of state, but a process by which the soul moves from one realm to another. But this process itself is changed thanks to the death stranding. In the normal order of things, when death occurs, the soul vacates the body and passes into the seam. From there, it transitions to the beach, and only then onto the world of the dead. But after the stranding, a soul that has already made its journey to the beach may attempt to return to its body in this world. It was hard to believe at first, but the process of necrosis provided proof of this phenomenon. that was difficult to the phenomenon that was difficult to deny. This is why it is imperative that we burn the bodies of the dead. The body must be destroyed to sever the link with the soul. Only then will the soul be free to journey to the world beyond. So... ghosts? something, the 3D printers are amazing. Yeah. I heard something about the past, and then I completely zoned out. You're throwing way too much at me, sir. The word chiral comes from Greek and hand. Compare your left with your right. They seem similar in both size and shape, yes? Now face your palms away from you and place one hand over the other. Sorry, I was doing it. Their shapes do not overlap exactly. But once your palms together and place your palms together and voila, match. It is as if one hand is the mirror image of the other. But again, if you were to actually compare the mirror image of your hand to itself, we would see that the two are not identical. This is the essence of chirality, the state in which the mirror image of a shape does not match the original. It has been theorized that BTs are mirror images of ourselves. Were we to exist in the same point in time and space, our shapes, as it were, would not overlap neatly onto the other, save in reflection. And when our particles meet their opposites, a void out occurs. Okay. The new form of communication we have devised utilizes beaches, which are akin to mirrors reflecting this world and the other, hence the term chiral network. Am I stupid? What? What? Oh, here, the chiral network. So the core infrastructure is complete. The basic Cupid ready chiral network set up is good to go. Now all we have to do is connect Central Knot City to Capital and prove that it actually works. Sadly, I won't be here to see it. I've been assigned to the expedition team's second group, so I'll be heading west with the others. But the people in charge here are the best of the best. They'll have the network operational inside of 3 years, just as planned, I'm sure of it. And while we're seeing to that, we'll be visiting towns and whatnot across the country and putting the facilities in place for when things are finally up and running. Amelie and the others in the lead group will be forging the connections and laying the groundwork to make sure everything goes to... Why? Guys, I think I'm having like a stroke or something. I'm not understanding any of the words that I'm reading. What? We'll just need to link it all up with operational Cupids, and that should be that. It's kind of like the Apollo missions back in the day. They used a 3-stage rocket to get to the moon, right? Well, we're using a 3-stage process to do something almost as revolutionary. It sounds like when I try to read anything, this is so much. I'm trying to understand, but I feel like... Okay, these are interviews. I thought that they would give us information. Is it a manual that I'm looking for? No. What even? Okay, whatever. All I know is we walk. We go here, we do that. We punch people sometimes, and then scary things happen and we run away from them. Construct a bridge. I can do that. Master gun recommended. I don't even have that. We do this one first. Only that first. One at a time.
We've added a bridge schematic to your PCC. The first step is laying the foundation, after which
We'll
you'll have
craft
to
this
supply
later.
additional materials to finish the job. Plenty of rivers and canyons could do with a good bridge, you know. Take a
Yeah.
stroll across one you built yourself, and I guarantee you'll be glad you made the effort. Give it a try.
I like Mama's voice. Don't I have one? I have one. Ooh, I have to make one. Okay. Why isn't it here anymore? Yes. Oh, it's big. Why is it two? Metals? What? What? Wait, what? Why do I have so many metals? I don't understand. This poor guy. Hold on. Yeah, that looks more efficient. You took them from the mailbox? I did? Oh. No? What? The mailbox in here? Can I store them in here?
Order assigned.
I don't think I need them. How do I put away... Uh-huh. I just hope it's not part of that mission, you know?
Thank you for your continued support.
I just hate that we have to see her face every time. Okay, now we have the medals there, right? Right. Okay.
Thank you for your contribution.
Now we just take
Scan.
the
Have a pleasant
PCC and
journey.
build a bridge somewhere. What is your mission? Build a bridge.
Wait, Sam.
Pleasant journey.
What?
Look like you're carrying all the necessary materials for that bridge.
No!
Make sure to take everything we earmarked for you.
No! I recycled it! It was for this mission! You're joking. You're joking. Can I cancel it and then they'll give me a new one? Can I cancel this? Can I cancel this mission, please? Ah! 200 medals? Where are we gonna find 200 medals? Bruh. Wait, hold on. Maybe someone's donated it. We can get it! Was it 400? Give me. Give me. Oh, it looks different now. Put it on my back. Auto arrange it. Yep. Confirm. Alright. Okay, that's why people don't build bridges, because you have to carry so much metal. Seems like you can just take all the materials you have. That was scary.
Scan. Have a pleasant journey.
Let's go.
Okay, Sam. Make your way to the designated construction area for the bridge.
What
The foundation should
designated
already be in
construction?
place.
Oh,
With your help, we'll have the thing
oh, we're
finished
about
in
to
no
eat.
time.
Oh, okay.
There should be a terminal nearby. Access it to submit additional materials.
Thank goodness the game told us. I wish it was clearer on that.
Looks like you found the site. There should be a terminal nearby. Access it to submit additional materials.
How do I? F. Oh, it's tab this time. It's not F this time. Complete structure. Take the metals. Why do I have 50 on me? Attach. Why do I have 50 metals attached to my suit? Oh, I need 50. What? No. Yes. What? I'm so confused. I'm just so confused. This is what happens when I play games that require more than one brain cell. A bridge! Yay. It's Jackie's turn.
Bravo, Sam.
Bravo!
Should make life easier for a lot of
Yay!
people. You can be sure that every traveler and porter who passes that way will put it to good use. Keep an eye out for other spots that could do with another well-placed bridge.
I can upgrade it. Timefall resistance? Upgrade it how? Yeah. Take these materials, I don't need them. It uses crystals! Is there an all? Submit all? Like, just take it. I don't want it. Metals.
Just so you know, Sam, distro centers and the like are stocked with materials you can use to fabricate equipment. You can also take what you need to build structures. That said, there are limits to what each facility can spare. Check their terminals to see what they are.
Aha! I did that. Claiming materials from facilities. All facilities offer general purpose materials which can be freely claimed. The amount available to claim will vary depending on the facility and will increase while you're completing orders. You can check available materials via the cufflinks or the delivery terminal. Yep. I sure did that. Ooh, 100 medals. No scary peeps here, right? We're very far from the scary thing over there, right?
Nice.
Where'd it go? Oh, it's across the water.
There we go.
Hey, if I ever need a break from doing the scary stuff, I can just farm materials for this. Do I need to? No. Metals. What's that though? Are those? Those are resins. Yeah, I don't need it. Get on me back. Interesting, you don't need resin. What's resin for then? Do we think he has the tism, guys? I feel like he has the tism. bike! I almost forgot about the bike. It's a speculum. Oh, there's a latte. Curious little cat. Wow, that is a lot of metals now that I'm looking at it. Oh, I didn't even like my own bridge.
Thanks for the help.
Wait, that's not my bridge.
Today's a good day.
What the heck, Benjamin? Taking credit for my bridge? Add. Like, why? Why is it? Oh, because it's full. Okay. So if AI automated jobs in our world, yay or nay? Automated service jobs. I mean, I have a Roomba. Does that count?
Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. Decontaminating journey. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Samuel Porter Bridges. Samuel Porticus? Portifer? Bridgerton. Okay, now we can it wants a gun. I'll do this one first. Where am I supposed to get a gun? Maybe they'll give me a gun if I accepted it. Should I just do it one at a time? I'm kind of scared. Power supply unit. Will they give me anchors? Okay, I'll do that one first. It's in opposite directions anyway. Oh, I have to fabricate it. I have one ladder and one climbing thingy. I'm good. Load all. Do I have any PCs? I have 3. And then 2 climbing anchors. I'm good.
Order assigned.
I'm kind of curious what the
Beginning scan.
what is it
Have a
called?
pleasant journey.
The mocap looks like for this behind the scenes.
Have a pleasant journey.
But what about the buy?
Keeping up.
Can we fabricate?
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Nope.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges.
We'll use the
ID.
bridge right here.
Verifying ID. Clear.
Hold
Weapons
on.
detected.
I guess
All
we're
weapons
still
will be locked
on
until
foot.
departure. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
I think I saw some short videos of it, the mocap. I haven't.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Honestly, the game didn't really like strike me at first. So I ignored it for like the longest time, but then playing it now, I'm like, ooh. Ooh, it's actually fun. It's actually interesting. What? God, those things scared me. Come to me. Mail? Order grades? Why does it look scary? Why does it look like it's about to rain? Please don't rain. I'm good. Where do we have to go? Oh, that's so far, actually. I thought we were... Okay. Oh no, it's gonna rain. Hello, Miswa. How are you? Woo! Okay.
Too close. Nice.
Shall we ascend the rope? Is this just a random... Oh no, that's my marker. I'm kind of curious where the rope leads. Surely other players won't try to lead me astray. Got voluntold to be my company's accountant again. Add it to your resume. Oh no, it's raining. How do I ascend? Oh. Jeez. He's just... He's so strong! What did that say? So we're gonna go the long way. We're just gonna walk. Okay, hold on to your... Okay, hold on. Oh, wait. Hold on to your... The way he is able to climb... Yeah, all that equipment, and then he's not even, like, hooking his feet to the rope. How come rope climbing takes no stamina? Who knows? Is that my marker? Oh, we're like messing around in the rain again. We gotta stop doing this. Is there shelter? A path I laid down was used by someone else. How nice. No shelter from the rain. So what is this?
God damn it, man.
What's wrong? What was it supposed to be? Lost cargo. I'll get it on the way back. I don't want to carry extra things on me. Does this count as shelter? No. What's that? Oh. Strong wind. A headwind will slow movement while tailwind will speed you up along slightly. Oh. Which way is the wind blowing? Anywhere the wind blows. I'm assuming it's blowing towards me. Gosh. And our stamina is being depleted. Gosh. This feels like, you know, when old people would like tell you that they had to cross a river and a mountain to get to school. It's playing music. Uphill both ways. What is this? Memory chip.
Sam, if you stumble across any memory chips on the road, be sure to submit them via the nearest terminal. There's no telling what kind of rare and valuable data they might contain. You're sure to make someone very, very happy with your contribution.
Okay. Oh lordy. Oh lordy, oh lordy. I feel like the wind is coming from there. So if we go this way... Ah! Why not just get down on the ground and crawl? I don't get it. There's like a shelf right there. Is that what it's called? A shelf? Oh boy. Hold on. Is there no easy way to go? Woo! Calm, 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 calm. Slowly. Slowly now. How do you trust this open hoodie to protect you from the rain? Right? I'd be wearing a hazmat. Surely the trees will... Eligible for delivery by others? What? Man, where am I going? I have to climb uphill. I sure hope I'm still going the right way. You know, we haven't drank before. All the other times it told me to drink, I was just like, you're good. Ah! Quit it. Okay. There has to be an easier way down. Ladder time? Ladder time, maybe? Do we even have a ladder? We do. Will it work? Will it work? Do you need a ladder for that? You think we can scale that? I feel like we can scale that, but... How come nobody put any assisting stuff here? My old boots? You must be so sweaty. I'm sweaty just... No. You're joking. You're joking. You're joking. You're joking. Not the haunted forest. Okay, well, shoot. Oh, please stop running. I only have one Granada. But first, where do we go? Okay. We keep going the right way. I don't know how to hold my breath. Where's the Granada? It's not here! What do you mean? Oh, I dropped it. Shake off. Ah! Let me go. I can fish. I'm lost. I'm lost. I'm lost. Oh. This whole area! Wait, our thing isn't even here. What do you mean? It is there. How do I select it? Carry my hand. I don't want to accidentally drop it. Oh god, what the hell? Hush. Hush, baby, don't cry. Okay, hold on. Now it's there! It wasn't there earlier! Wait, no, that's not it. What? There! Can I... Is it that? No! I don't think it worked! I threw it and nothing happened. Your device is faulty. What if I'm going the wrong way? I'm kind of going the right way. Ah! Hey, it didn't do shit. It's waving at me like, hey, you're good. It's right there, but you're good now. Okay, that would have been nice to know that this entire circle... Ah! We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Grenade. What? It's still in my hand. Do I go back there and try it? It didn't do anything. Ah! Stop it. What is wrong with this guy? Are we hurt? Do we nom these guys? How to see my health? We only lost like 5 HP. Hey guys, come here. They fled! They're all gone! So apparently those little things can run away from you. Good to know. Hey, we made it! They float away. So they do have a defense mechanism. They do have enough brain cells to know to run away.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected.
What's that?
All weapons will be locked until departure. Cargo verified. Thank you.
What's that? Data chip. Ah! Okay. Oh, my stuff's about to break. I was in the rain.
There we go.
Interesting. Memory chip. Run, little guys. Ellie's hungry. Ugh. Hey. All right. Take your heckin'... Oops. Power supply.
Delivering cargo.
Thank you.
Whoa.
With this unit, we should be able to power the distro center via the chiral network.
I can't see his
Other
face.
places too, if it works. Here's hoping the UCA can put our electricity to good use. Mind if I have a look?
Yeah.
Incredible. How'd you get this here? You fly?
No. I suffered. 18% damaged? It's because I got eaten, huh? I wish I had a flying machine. Give me a way to fly.
All we need now is a connection to the chiral network. Go for it.
Why can't we fly? Hmm? We can build all these cool things. Look at those boots. They're pristine, not even dirty.
Network bandwidth is a limited resource, and every structure you build consumes it.
Okay.
However, as you increase your connection level, the bandwidth available to you will increase as well.
Mm-hmm. Connection level with the clients in the area. They'll give me more bandwidth if I do stuff for them, guys. A very transactional relationship. Oh, he looks... Yep. Humanity's biggest problem? Logistics. Oh, chiral contamination 1, the discovery of beaches and the concept of death. Shall we read that? You can now use the PCC to build generators. What are generators for? New features have been added to your cufflinks. Supply requests, bridge links. New options have been added to delivery terminals. Take on orders, standard orders. Make delivery requested supplies. Entrust cargo garage. Whoa. So we couldn't see other people's like warnings before because of that? Bruh. Enabling you to see and access other players' structures. Oh.
About time we did our part. Thanks again. You know, I heard the rest of your team was wiped out.
Oh.
Makes what you're doing all the more incredible. You're a one-man expedition. I hope Amelie's doing as well as you.
Where are all the other porters?
City yet. It was her that put us in charge of the wind farm. I was with the group bringing up the rear while Amelie led the way.
Yeah, she's so great.
But it was an honor to travel with her all the same. When you see her, feel free to tell her I said so, huh?
Sam, got a moment? I ran an experiment with your blood. It seems you were onto something. After dispersing an aerosolized sample of your blood in BT territory, we observed reduced activity. While this is hardly definitive, as we have no other repatriates to whom we can turn for additional testing, it does suggest that the bodily fluids of repatriates are repellent to BTs. Mama had the idea of developing a weapon to test this theory. The prototype should be ready soon, and when it is, we'd like you to test it.
Sam, this is the perfect opportunity. We've almost got the whole region on the Chiral network. All that's left is Port Knot City. Return to Capital Knot City so you can pick up relief supplies for Port Knot. By the time you arrive, we can give you the completed prototype in person. One other thing. It's not very often porters get out to that wind farm. While you're there, you should pick up any outstanding orders. No sense coming all the way back here empty-handed if there's work to be done. Have a look at that delivery terminal.
While you're there, do your job.
New order available. Please access delivery terminal for further information.
Have you actually met a live human besides the beginning car sequence? The girl that touched us? No, we haven't met anybody. Actually, we've met Mom, the president who died. We've met Dead Man. And we've met the... Yeah, but... aside from those guys, no.
Congrats, Sam. You're cleared to take on open orders.
Who's talking?
While
Mama?
they're not as high priority as the ones specifically assigned to you, if you're already heading a certain way and you have room to spare,
I don't have room to
couldn't
spare.
hurt to do a little more, right? Just because they're not mission critical doesn't mean they're not important to someone. So why not do a good deed or two?
I feel like I'm being gaslit. I'm being manipulated.
That's a
That's
request
so
for
far.
material transport. By helping the facility replenish its stores, you'll gain access to a greater share of the materials on site.
But it's through
Give,
BT
and you shall
territory.
receive.
Okay, do I have to deliver these specific metals, or can I just find metals along the way? I'll do this. But does this have... That's heavy, bro. Fine.
Hey, great work. That wind farm you've brought into the network is essential for our continued expansion.
Okay.
By way of reward, I've added a little something to your PCC. A generator option. Generators recharge the batteries of all nearby devices. That includes
batteries?
machines, bikes, and
The
other battery-powered
bike!
vehicles.
Okay. Do I have to make one? Load all. Can I choose a different configuration? No, this is it. All right. He dirty.
Order assigned.
Right. Okay. We have to go all the way back to capital, not city, too. This is not the way. Why do I keep doing this? Okay. Back into the wilderness we go. I keep pressing M for the map.
Sam,
Ah!
I see you've decided to take on several orders at once. If you're not sure how you want to handle them, open your itinerary via your cufflinks. There you can sort your active orders by distance from your current position. Should help you plan an efficient route.
So we have a Jippus. Calculating the best route for completing multiple orders. D, open route. F, arranged by proximity. So D. And then F. Ah. I mean, I already knew, but okay. Now what? Now what? Uh-huh. What? D, F, yes, this. No, I don't want to swap it. But now what? Is it just that? Just be like, hey, yeah, go here. It's not a real Jippus.
Hey, be careful on your way back.
Brave the day, hello. Good evening, how are you? Welcome in. What am I doing? I did do that. Orders. Orders. And then what? Huh? What does this mean? So, okay. Select orders. Something about... You know what? It's fine. We also have mail. Nick Easton. Sam, how you doing out there? For a newbie, you're quite the workhorse, huh? Timefall's probably taking its toll on your equipment, am I right? Maybe some of your kit's not even usable anymore. Well, don't jump the gun and throw that stuff away just yet. One thing you can do is take your old equipment to a delivery terminal and recycle it. Oh, thank you for the follow! Welcome in. How much FPS? What does that mean? Where was I? One thing you can do is take your old equipment to a delivery terminal and recycle it. You can then fabricate yourself a shiny new whatever to use instead. Don't know if you're aware, but the whole recycling system is operated by the Bridget Strand Foundation. That's right, the president herself set it up as a means to convert busted tools and gear back into usable resources. On the other hand, if your equipment's only halfway to broke, but you still want to part ways, you could use a share locker to donate it to another porter whose need is greater than yours. You may well end up getting a like or two for your generosity. Oh boy, a like! Never mind the warm fuzzy feeling of having helped your fellow man. Of course, the system works both ways, meaning you can snag stuff other porters have put in share lockers too. If you're the one who could do with a helping hand. Anyway, both the recycling system and the share lockers have their uses, and it's up to you to pick which method best suits your needs at any given moment. You've still got a lot to learn, I guess, but you'll have it all figured out in no time. What's the point of this mail, my guy? Thanks. our connection level isn't as high as this one. Huh. This guy likes us more. How's BB doing? I hope you've managed to avoid autotoxemia altogether. By the way, I've been wondering, how are your porter grades these days? Getting better and better, I imagine, or maybe you don't really care about that stuff. Well, in case you do, I thought I might give you a quick primer since I know it can be confusing. Bridges has developed a unique system to evaluate porter performance, and it focuses on 5 categories: cargo condition, delivery volume, speed, bridge link, and miscellaneous. Obviously, the aim of the game is to get high grades in all 5 categories. If you ask me, though, you should prioritize cargo condition. I mean, what's the point of lugging something halfway across the continent if it's smashed to bits in the process? Sure, some people aren't all that bothered. Some will even let you get away with up to 50% damage or so, but come on. Imagine if you ordered a dozen thingamajigs and half of them were delivered broken. No, it's definitely better to put condition first. Treat your cargo with care and respect, and you'll be rewarded with way more likes. What are likes for? Don't forget to drink water, ma'am. I will. I have my tea. But you have to drink too. That was my motto back when I was a porter. It wasn't always easy, as you can imagine. Sometimes things got dicey, but I learned to hang in there and deliver my cargo in one piece. Imagine writing all this to the best porter in the world. Supposedly. Hey, a bridge. Woo! Okay.
Too close.
My stuff's already all in. Thank you. My BB really needed that. Okay. So it looks like... What is this? Traversable on the bike. So, this area was dangerous, right? What's Death Stranding even about? Something about... Yep. I sure know what's going on. You see... Yep. You make deliveries, and they're like... Wait. Pop quiz. So... The world is fractured, and we have been tasked to connect people together so we're not stranded. Or something like that. And then, along the way, there are deliveries that you can make to these stations that need you to connect them to the network so they can all work together, or something like that. We're also trying to help this one woman on the other side of the world because she's being held against her will, or whatever. Kojima really put everything he wants on it. He went on a hike and was like, I can make a game out of this.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
What is this? It's a... Whoa! That scared me. You're not real. What's that? Okay, well this... I feel like a lot of things are like supposed to be useful and I just don't find them useful because I don't know what I'm doing.
There we go.
It's a hacking bridge. So, you're asking what's the game about? I have no clue. Yoink!
It's disgusting.
Dare we go around? You know? Should we go? I wish it showed us like what path we took. Cause like we went this way because this thing was really scary. But there's a bridge. Should we just go straight across again? My shoes are already falling apart.
There we go.
A bridge. Thanks. Let me give you a bunch of likes. Yeah! Anything I can give? Maybe some crystals? Crystals? Yeah. Essential worker being gaslit. Yeah, they've been gaslighting him. Risk his life by being told that he is saving America. And we're being paid in likes. They're like, do it for the likes. Whoa! Calm down, calm down. What is that? Is that a dookie? Huh? It looks like there's no scaries yet. Okay. This is where it starts. I thought it was here. At least there's places in between that's like recharge your BB. Ooh, let's go for that rope. We also only get the bare minimum of equipment. Yeah. They were like... My shoes were falling apart and they were like, oh, here you go. Here's how to make new shoes. After I already got new shoes off of somebody else. Lost in sauce. Thanks for the rope, buddy. Did I need to? Maybe? Oh no, it's gonna start raining again, huh? Let go of the rope. There we go. Wait, why am I climbing this mountain? Did I have to climb this? Oh no, this way. Dare we take this? It's in capital, not city. I think we're good. News about... No. And I'd rather not discuss that on stream. Maybe I should have taken that. But it's all the way in the capital. So I guess I could put it in a storage box or a lockbox, right?
Well, at least I'm getting
Which way is the wind blowing this time? I feel like there should be more lock boxes, given how there's so many lost parcels. Oh my goodness, no scary BTs. Yay. Oh, there's one right here. Did that recharge our BB? What is this green stuff? Why is music playing? It's kind of spooky. No. I mean, it was raining here earlier, right? Oh. Oh no, it's gonna be muted. Lost cargo, distribution center west. Where's that? Is this here? You can come with us. Get on me back. Ah! Okay, never mind. Okay, wait. Get in here. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Why did I do this to myself? Okay. Make a delivery. What? I can do that here? Oh, I can just entrust it. Right, take it for me, please. Well, they kind of like us more even if we just entrust it to them. Thanks. No scaries, right? There wasn't any scaries here on the way. Why is the music so loud? What is this? These footsteps are mine, right? Thank you for the head pats. Is it showing up or am I? Are the head pats showing up or am I not seeing it? It's not showing up? Or no? Hold on. Wait. I forgot. It was using up, It's not showing up. But why? Hold on. Something's supposed to be showing up. Okay, I think it's because I didn't do something. Hugo, thank you. I was like, huh, it ended a little too early because I didn't even see it. There we go. Thanks. Sorry. Something popped up and I didn't even look at it. I'm sprinting down the hill again, aren't I? We'll walk. It's fine. The music is so loud I can't even hear my own thoughts. This is some interstellar music, huh? Spooky music. There's no music volume slider, yeah.
There we go.
Oh, and then the rain makes time go faster for whatever it touches, but then after that it's regular water again. How about taking a break in a private room? So if it touches you, you age. And if it keeps touching you, you keep getting older. That's why you were wearing a hood. Wow! No further incident. Yay! What this? Oh no, those are supposed to be.
Just you, yourself, and me.
He was like, I don't want to do this, and they were like, you have to, you're our only hope. Because apparently there are no other delivery people. Just us. Okay, we can go back to a jog. Feeling tired? Yay. No way was I lugging that heavy thing all the way around. So what was the generator? Do we have to like build it next to the bike? Where's the bike? Right there.
All weapons will be locked until the cargo verified.
Might as well be the last 10 people alive anymore if you're even alive. Do we count as being alive if we're a repatriator? You're carrying a person? No. Just a bunch of boxes. A bunch of Amazon deliveries. It was shoes. Yeah, extra shoes. My shoes are about to go bad.
The legend returns. How you doing, Sam?
I'm hanging on. But barely.
Delivery's in damn fine shape.
Yay! Oh, it's showing us where we went. People go that long way. Couldn't be me. Everyday delivery. Complete a standard order. I'm so proud of us, guys. We didn't die. May have gone swimming with a BT, but we didn't die.
See you around.
Thanks, buddy. We're almost 5 stars with him. Oh no. What happened? He doesn't seem real if we can pause his animation. What? It was nice to meet you too. Take care. Bye bye. Make delivery. Share. Ooh, the data chip. Thirst for knowledge.
So
Another
you're a treasure
achievement.
hunter in your
This game
spare
has a
time,
lot of
huh?
achievements.
It's funny. I didn't think you had any.
Huh?
What a wonderful gift. Thank you, Sam.
God of War original video game soundtrack. What? Frame Arms Girls Byakko. What? Wait, what? Are we getting ads?
Thank you for your contribution.
Is this an ad in the game? Oh boy, take on orders. I'm going there next. Oh, that's a lot. Should I take the other stuff too? Jeeves.
Order assigned.
I could just swing this on one of those mule guys. What's my current weight? What does this mean? Recovery confidential documents? Is that a mule thing? They want us to go. Oh, they want us to get it. I can do that. What?
Order assigned.
If I accept the gun thing, you think they'll give me a quest for it? Whoops.
We're issuing you a Maser gun.
Yeah!
This close-range, non-lethal weapon incapacitates hostiles with a powerful electrical burst. Bear in mind that it requires battery power to function. You should visit the firing range to familiarize yourself
A
with it.
firing range.
Use the terminal to head to the range whenever you like.
What? Are we too heavy now? Carried on back, metal. Why? So, where's the firing range?
Order assigned.
Firing range, firing range, firing range. Firing. Yeah. We get to shoot a gun! Bop bop. Bop bop bop. I thought the most we'd get is like one of those baton things. Suddenly it's a shooter. What do you mean, uh-oh? What do you mean, uh-oh? Oh, we need to take a shower. These walls look so pristine, and then there's us. da. Oh. I still want to know what happens when we die, or if we die, or like, do we respawn, or do we just have to run away? Drills. Destroy all targets. Let's start with the first one. Ugh! You know, I recite America. Destroy all targets, make your way to the goal. Where's the gun? Is that a... Oh! What? Oh, I have to be... within range? Hello. He keeps putting it out. Whoa, that's a civilian. Probably. What is this? Wow, is mine gone? What if it wasn't a civilian, right? Everyone gets a taste. At the end, it's like, you were supposed to kill that guy too. One more! Who is it? Ah. You have died, haven't you? I did. I jumped off a cliff. I don't know if I like shooting. I kind of like just punching them out. A. Ranked? There's ranked? What's Strand? Yo, what? You can kill people with the Strand thingies? Where is it? So, crouch, sneak, sneak. Whoa. Whoop. You don't see me. Oh, it's counting down. I didn't know you could do this. Oh, they see me. Come here. Stop fighting. Wait. One. Ah! Parry with a strand. Equip the strand. I don't have it equipped anymore. Parry with it? What? Oh my god! Hey, your turn. Oh, I have to click it. What? Okay, try again. One more time. Oh, wait. I wish I could see what was happening. I did parry it. Bruh. Come here. Wait, I prefer this over the gun. Oop, where did it go? Am I out? Where are you? Okay. So that's how it works. Oh, we're clean! I prefer using the strand. So I can beat people up. And then I won't even need to carry a gun around me. Yeah? Oh, but it's recommended for that one job. Oh, I guess. So we have to carry it. What? I don't want to be here. Quit training. How to leave? How to leave? Hello? Can I go home? Leave firing range. Yep. Wow. They cleaned us up. I think he wants to take a nap, don't you? Okay, I gotta be careful, even in here. Apparently. I wasn't even pressing the right button.
Your work is greatly appreciated.
Skip. Keep. Boy. Is it time for a dream? Nope, we're good. Our heckin' boots.
Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. I'm going to look for some lost cargo. What? Any more figures? How do we get more figures? Let's take a shower. Because even though the training thingy cleaned us up... Sorry, skip. Even though it cleaned us up... Nice! Even though it cleaned us up, I don't trust. That link. Okay, now we should have weapons to examine, right? It looks like a Nerf gun. An experimental non-lethal weapon developed by Bridges for use by porters. Imagine signing up to be a delivery person and then they hand you a gun. It's a toy! Makes use of the Masser magnetically accelerated stroke of electric reverberation effect generated by the interaction between chiral and magnetic fields to unleash a powerful electrical charge, renders human targets unconscious, and temporarily immobilizes vehicles. So there's going to be enemies on vehicles. Got it. Master gun is effective over a wider range if discharged near water. Got it. Alright, we get another, Shall we use the sunglasses this time? I like that after each action, he just sits back down on his bed and starts thinking. Okay, we're ready to go. Time for another cutscene? Show me, Mads!
That's it, Lisa. Don't be shy.
Oh no, he's
Like we
crazy.
used to. Come on. Keep up.
Oh no!
Sorry. Did I wake you up?
Is the person on the
Today's Mommy's birthday.
bed still alive?
It's also the anniversary of when we first met.
Oh, she's in a tube. Blah.
Ascending.
Oh, that's a lot of stuff on us. Okay. That's a lot of quests. Ranked orders. To participate in the rankings and compare your performance to that of other players, I'd rather not. Your final ranking will be determined at the end of the event, and you will receive banners and medals to display on your Bridge Link screen depending on your performance. How do I opt out? New ranked event is available from to the 18th. So if they gave me like cosmetics as rewards, I would, but since they're not, I'm gonna do a big no thank you. Okay, so methinks we go this way. Isn't that where BTs are? Methinks we go this way. Whoa.
Beginning scan.
Methinks
Have a
we
pleasant journey.
offload stuff first. And then go do stuff.
Hey, Sam. You could probably get that bike running again
The
if you
bike!
charged it with a generator. Why not give it a try?
Okay.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Okay. 1 PCC. What? What? Generator. Obstacle detected. There we go. Signing up to be a deliverer. Did I read that already? Are we still in tutorial? I feel like we are.
Construction complete.
Every single letter we read is like still a tutorial too. I feel like it's dangerous to be standing under this. Okay, hold on. There was also mail. Wait. I just don't want to be swamped with it. You're doing very well, Sam Bridges. I guess I should expect nothing less from the great deliverer. Oh god. Yeah, I heard the stories. Rumor has it that you're a big Half-Life fan. Huh? I've heard the stories. You're a big Half-Life fan. What? once we're united, once we were united, but now we've been scattered all over, but that's why we've got to keep working, right? Anyways, listen, I've got a favor to ask. I want you to find some lost cargo for me. You know the river to the north of the distribution center west of Capital Knot City? Just follow it to follow it northeast from the center and you should find what we're looking for. It's a cube, so it ought to be easy to spot. You've probably never seen anything like it before, so I wouldn't blame you for being leery. But it's not dangerous. It's really, really important to me. Important as life itself. Oh. If you manage to find the cube, it'd be great if you could take it to the distribution center west of Capital Knot City. I'll chuck a bunch of likes your way in exchange, of course. Plus a little something extra too. You're the only one who can help me, Sam. I'm counting on you. Okay. So we also get quests here. I'm never going to this wind farm, by the way. I wonder where you are right now. Aw, if it's somewhere powered by our wind farm, if anyone should be benefiting from our work, it's you. Until you brought us to the network, we could only provide power to a small region. Now we can send it to all the big cities and beyond. I'm still not 100% on the details, but basically transmitting it via the beach means we don't suffer any additional loss due to increased distances, so it can go as far as we need it to. Good thing we kept the faith in the second expedition and kept this place properly maintained. It made our efforts worthwhile. We can't thank you enough. Okay, hold on. I keep accidentally, like, going out. How about taking a break in a private room? I did this, right? Or do I have to do it again? How's your BB doing? Even if you're feeling fine, it can be a good idea to give the little guy a break from time to time. I did this. If it's gonna ask me to do it again. Me. Okay, one more thing. So it was D, and then F? I know it's like just go here first and then here. But like, is there a way down? Oh, there is a way down. Dare we go all the way there? With all this stuff on our back? A bridge! Wait, where does that go? How do I get out? How do I get out? Oh, here. What? Oh my god. Please. Where do you... Luden's fan? You can do wheelies. That's right there. It's just there. It's just right there. I can do it, right? I can do it. I can still walk. Hold on. I'll just deliver it to the place. Ah! Okay, wait. So I'm already stuck. Uh-huh. I'm going there too. it's just right there. Where? It better not be that thing up the hill. It's just right there. It's just right there. Whoops. Am I there yet? Am I there yet? What do you mean? Oh, it's that.
Still got it.
Whoa, buddy. Woo! Something doesn't feel right about this. Yep. Yep.
Beginning scan. Weapons detected.
This
All
is
weapons
such
will be locked until departure. Cargo
a strange...
verified. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Skyrim horse. Yeah. See, I did it.
Delivering cargo.
Oh, there's a person here.
Delivery, dude? Oh, that's a relief. I've just about given up on you. I don't know how you do it. I really don't.
Do we connect him?
Respect, man. Seriously? Respect.
Well, we don't connect him. Okay.
About time I hopped in the whole
Oh!
network bandwagon.
Wait, so then the other one we missed
Join
is
the
also
UCA
not
and all that.
connected.
You can help me do that, yeah?
We look like a superhero with our sunglasses. Ah. That's just a little tiny dot. Doesn't count as a big line thingy. Poor thing, all the way out here. Nendoroid Jumbo Ludens. There's Nendos in this game. What is happening?
Oh, thank you, Sam. Hey, take care out there. Hate for this to be the last time we meet, you know?
This is the last time we're gonna meet.
I'm gonna need a moment to look over what you brought me. But I'll hit you back via mail after. Promise.
Well, he looks better now too.
I'm hoping maybe you can help me out again.
Huh?
I don't want to be weird, but I feel you and I might have like a connection. Or
Oh,
something.
buddy. Oh, brother.
Good work. New order available. Please access delivery terminal for further information.
You and I have a connection. Going to... Oh, I'm not going there. Wine! Recovered stolen T-Rex Yeah, sure. And also this one. We're going home anyway. Oh, heavy... No. Which one is that? This one? Oops. Okay. What doing? I guess we'll come back here and do those things. What's that? Oh, that's where we need to go. But also... Woo! Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. I almost heckin' tripped. We have to go up. Bruh. Whoa. Can I store all this stuff here and then go up there? If I'm coming back anyway? I don't want to donate. Private locker. I have 2 boots. I have so many boots. Okay. I want to put these away. Go up to the mule base and do whatever it is I need to do up there. And then come back for these things, right? Yep, that's what we're doing. I can put it on the bike! I'm putting it in the locker. Locker. We'll just pick these back up later. We should be able to... We should be fine now, right? Okay. Yes, we are gonna see each other again, buddy. Do we have a strand? Why is it beeping? Can be used to find human enemies from behind and parry attacks at close quarters. Sam's blood is woven into its fibers and used by scanners to verify his identity, making it an essential porter tool. Okay. So do we walk? Or... I don't think we climb with a bike all the way up there.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
What is that supposed to be? I don't want to cancel the order, I'm just... Thanks. I always wanted a ladder over here. I can't even get on it. Someone dropped their grenade. Okay, buddy. There's a rope over there, though. Am I going the long way? Almost there. Yep. Use tall grass and various obstacles to avoid being spotted by the enemy. Crouch to make less noise as you move. Ooh, tall grass.
Sam.
What?
You should be coming up on that cargo. And a boatload of mules, no doubt. Stay out of sight and try not to make too much noise if they're within earshot. We don't want this going sideways.
What if we build a tower? Permitted construction area?
Sorry, Sam. Gonna have to ask you to build that somewhere else. I'm flagging that spot as off limits.
Why? Boo! What is? What if he sees me? I'm just crouching right here, not even hiding. I'm right here. What happened to my rope? Bruh. I tried to use my rope, I swear. Wow. Come at me. Oh, there's 3 more. It's fine. I'm patient. I can wait. Whoa. Whoa! What was that? He's staggered. Come on. Let me find him. I'll just punch them all. So... More? Okay. Last one, last one. It's V! My grenade! That would have been disastrous. It's not even here. What do you... See, it's not there sometimes. Change page. There's pages? How do I move it to the other page? It's horrible. Okay, so I want that climbing anchor. But I don't want to take the... Whatever. I don't need it. Off limits my butt. I don't need to hide in the tall grass if I beat everyone up. Hmm? Locked. Give me. Yeah, it's a good thing we put everything away. I don't need these, right? I keep trying to press it, but I have to like actually press F. Where's the T-Rex models that guy wanted?
Good work, Sam. I knew you'd get what we need. Looks like the entrance is locked down. Not that we were planning to head inside just yet. No point in sticking around. Get that cargo back to the distro center.
Where? Oh my god. The map is so messy now. Is this the one for the guy? Oh, it's further up. Ugh. It's a different mules thing. Okay, one thing at a time. How do we get down safely? Is there like an... Is there like a rope I can use from up here? Nobody put a climbing anchor up here? Hey guys. Don't mind me. Maybe we should start walking now. A crime scene. That looks scary. I can walk down this. I'm gonna give you a bunch of likes. Ready?
This one's for you.
Ah, that wasn't that good. Can I only use it once? Oh, space. Wait, no. What? I can only use it once. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Do we just...
Keep it up. Keep it up.
Boo! Uh-huh. Okay. So you can only use the ropes once, I guess. Or maybe there was a way and I just didn't. This was the way we went. Surely this means that we can go back down this way, right? Carefully. Carefully, slowly. Hold on to your... Can I use this? Spread your wings.
Yeah, this is nice.
Yeah! We made it!
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear.
No, I have to
Sam,
deliver
order
this
bridges.
to the place, so I have to keep leaving my stuff here. Surely we can just... Oh, yup. Oh boy, a bridge! I'm so glad someone built a bridge right here. Why is there music playing? Oh god. Um... 1,000,000 coins. I have no idea. It's here, right? Distribution Center West. Oh, these... Way station. Okay, no, we're good. I wonder if it expected us to walk, because we were supposed to do that earlier. My bike only has 8 likes.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. Cargo verified. Thank you. Decontaminating suit. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Sam Porter Bridges. I didn't even use my gun. This guy loves me. I keep making deliveries. Yay!
Back, are you?
Yes.
Delivery's in damn fine shape.
I forgot to press the auto skip. What?
Active skeletons attached to your legs to enhance strength and facilitate movement.
Ooh.
This particular model will allow you to carry heavier loads and help maintain your balance.
Ooh.
When boosted, you'll be able to move somewhat faster, at the expense of power, of course. While this basic type does not excel in any particular category, it is resilient, and its battery consumption is comparatively low. Much better than relying on your legs alone, in short. See for yourself.
I've always wanted one of these. Provided the design data for the following. I can craft guns. Sound data, pale yellow. I'm good. Call to arms.
Oh, before I forget. This is for you.
A gift! What is that? Oh, this... How do I put it on? Press shift for a speed boost, but be aware that boosting will drain battery at an accelerated rate. Keep an eye on your battery levels. What battery? When do we get a battery? A copy of... Add it to your Steam, and it's downloading as we speak. Cargo can be attached to the hips while using the support skeleton. How do I put it on? I keep pressing it again. Where is it? Okay, whatever. Whatever.
Good work. New order available. Please access delivery terminal for further
Oh, brother, hold on. Where is it? At the very top? Yeah, but... Ooh. confused. What? Where did it go? What? I have to go there. Stealthily collect data from the ruined factory. Stealth. Stealth. Cover data from inside the bed. I need to go there anyway. Do I have to fabricate it? I have one, don't I? I own one. It's stored in the private locker. Did I not get it? I don't want a gun. We have a gun. Okay, now I have 2 guns. Great. Can I store this into locker? Aha! It's here! Equip! There we go! We figured it out. See, I'm so smart. Alright. This UI is a game on its own. Yeah, it's so confusing. Can I remove this? Wear the other mule boots. Confirm. And then we recycle the broken one.
Order assigned.
Recycle. Stop talking to me!
By handing over excess materials to a facility, you can increase the amount stored on. Now, these materials can then be used later for equipment fabrication and so forth. Just remember that each facility has separate stores, and that the amount on hand
so
differs
many
from site to site.
tutorials.
Don't get carried away.
Hi, Sarah. Tramsizzle, hello. Please tell her I said hello to you. Have you checked your base? I don't remember where your base is, but if your power is out, people can destroy it. I've officially given up on Dune. Aw. What you can do is, if you have any vehicles, to disassemble it and then put it in your pockets, and then get all of your core materials and stuff, put it in your ship, and then fly to a city and just stay there. Fill up your bank items too, for when you eventually want to go back. Not worried about it anymore? Alrighty. Let's recycle the shoes. No point in carrying them. Battlefield will be taking up that slot. I hope you're having fun with it. What else do we not need? I think everything else is fine. I wish I could skip this. I don't want to see this. Huh? Private room. Something's happening in my room.
Your work is greatly appreciated.
I think Ven's been doing a lot of deep desert stuff. He's being very brave. I joined him from time to time. I'm still waiting for more content to come out,
Good
which I
morning,
think
Sam.
is supposed to be this month or next month. Who knows? Tell Ven to stream Elden Ring for me. I think when he also takes a break from Dune, he'll go back to Elden Ring. We shall see. What's here? Why is it telling me or active terminal? Eh? Was it just telling me to the meaning of chirality? Dear Sam, sorry you had to go to the trouble of chasing down that part for us, but believe me, you've done us a great service. Thanks to you, our chiral printer's finally up and running. Didn't think it would ever happen, if I'm honest, but it did, and now we don't have to rely on porters as much as before. Holy shit, I can't read. We can make a lot of what we require with our printer, and if we need intel on the outside world, it's right there at our fingertips. On behalf of myself and everybody else here at the District Center, thanks. None of this would have been possible without you. Funny story, the other day, I was using the network to read up on the word chiral and where it comes from. Turns out it's Greek, means hand. Bet you didn't know that. I read it earlier. The text went on about how your right hand is the mirror image of your left, but only if you put your palms together, and if you point them away and lay one on Why do I feel like I've read this already? That's how I understood it. Anyhow, what it's got to do with the network, I'm not really sure. Something about routing communications through the beach, which is basically another world like ours, but not really. So when you force elements of the two into contact, it triggers a void out. Anyway, all I know is that while I hope you keep doing what you do to bring us together, you'd best leave the dead out of it. You hear? Ugh, so lost. You did read this. I read this somewhere else. I read the interview from the science guy, and that one made more sense though than that guy was saying. You're the best. You've brought me something one of a kind, a Ludens figurine signed by none other than the creator himself. Try printing that with a chiral printer. The one you've got is pretty cool, but this is a national treasure. Legend has it that these Ludens figured prominently what? Figured prominently in one of the creator's games. Pre-standing humans, Homo sapiens, were obsessed with them, you know? Pre-stranding humans. So we're not... Okay. It was through these works they reached the next level and became Homo Ludens. Apparently, what they played weren't games in that usual sense, but since there aren't any around anymore, we might never know what exactly that means. But these Ludens figures, they were symbols of one game in particular, and I guess you could say that by collecting these figures, I'm playing a game of my own. Figured have a significant part or role in a situation or process. Has these Ludens figured prominently in one of... Okay. Sure! I didn't know you can use the word like that. Sure! Whatever. 14 likes from a Ludens fan. Can I print here? Looks like I still have stuff for... So many. Should we print this? Can we print this? Biako! Frame arms girls. A spin-off of the Frame Arm series of plastic robot figurines from Kotobukiya, in which the robots of Frame Arms were reimagined as human female characters. This particular figurine is the female version of the Byakko model. While reimagining characters in this way may seem particular to Japanese pop culture, in particular the Moe movement, personifications of this kind go all the way back to ancient Greece. The adaptation of the explorer Amerigo Vespucci's name into the name of the country of America can also be seen as a personification of sorts. Right. Okay. Okay. The other one, God of War. God of War was a 2005 action game that made use of the imagery and themes of ancient Greece. Many titles were subsequently released in the series, with the most recent 2018's God of War proving to be a true return to form, featuring an all-new story and settings which range from Greece to Scandinavia. Listening to the soundtrack is sure to provide a wind beneath the wings of your imagination, carrying you to the world of gods for another epic adventure. Okay. Interesting. Chiral contamination. Chiral contamination is the result of prolonged exposure to chiral radiation, which is emitted by chiralium, a substance discovered at the same time as the beach. Prolonged exposure can significantly impact physical and mental health. The effects are not dissimilar from those observed in individuals exposed to extremely high levels of stress, levels which can be fatal even. Such traumatic experiences can alter hormonal secretions, impair immune response, contribute to heart failure, and induce strokes. The most common symptom of chiral contamination is poor sleep quality due to vivid nightmares. Oh boy. If left unchecked, however, it can quickly progress a more advanced stage in which the aforementioned issues may be observed. The potential impact on an individual's mental health cannot be understated. The resulting hormonal imbalances frequently lead to heightened destructive impulses towards the self and others. Those dominated by such urges are named homodemons, the mad ones. In the case of some porters, such as mules, impaired memory and judgment has led them to develop an irrational obsession with their profession, hence the homogestalt moniker. While it should be feasible and preferable for most individuals to avoid chiral contamination at all costs, there are those with demonstrated resistance who need not be so cautious. I speak, of course, of doomed sufferers. So, let's get bad. Let's liquid stress. When you get stressed out, apparently you start doing your job more? Okay, sure. Yeah. When the discovery of the beach and fundamental truth of death was upended, I doubt you'll find many who would deny this. Alas, we can say little with confidence in any objective or scientific capacity, for our understanding of this new realm remains in its infancy and is ever evolving. Much like our understanding of the universe as a whole, perhaps the closest thing we have to working explanation of the beach relates to the concept of a multiverse. But I digress. The beach is arguably both a concept and a reality. A discrete beach is influenced by the mind of the associated individual and therefore linked to them irrevocably. This is why we have so energetically pursued the psychological, psychoanalytical, and neuroscientific angles when attempting to create a unified theory of the Death Stranding, the beach, and related phenomena. Are we following? Are we following, y'all? There was a fad a while back in which subjects underwent counseling in order to learn more about their beaches, and in so doing gain a greater understanding of the nature of death. doom sufferers in particular, provided excellent opportunities for studies. For study. An interesting theoretical question arose during that period. If a person's beach was a product of their consciousness, might animals have beaches as well? A conundrum on the surface, perhaps, but one quickly resolved. Only human corpses undergo necrosis and become BTs, which proves somewhat conclusively that only a human can possess a beach. And yet this begs another question. If all that is required is consciousness akin to that of a human, could an AI have a beach? An android? I, for one, do not believe so. Why? Because the function of our beach is to connect to the world of the living and the dead. If an entity was never born, has not truly lived, and will never know death, surely it cannot have a beach. I think I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to get it. Okay. Hardman has the info. I don't know about the rest of them. War and famine have been inescapable parts of human life since the rise of our species, and while the fall of America hasn't changed its fundamental truth, it's fair to say that these issues, that's why they had it set in America, because we have Amazon. Will this be in the test? Yes. I think the test is, open notes, maybe? Can you remember the last time you heard of a prepper dying of starvation, much less someone in a not city? No one's fighting over water or oil or anything else, which isn't to say that people don't occasionally run out of supplies, but that's almost never because of a real shortage. It's usually a problem with logistics. In fact, it was to address such problems that the president created bridges and developed the chiral network. So yeah, no one's that desperate. Everybody has got enough for themselves. So in this America, there's no shortages. There's no homelessness. Almost said homoness. It's all too easy for people to become isolated from one another and eventually forget that others even exist. People are free to live for themselves for the moment without a care for the future. The president understood this better than anyone, and I know just how much it pained her. Okay, see, Hartman's the only one I understand. What is data? What else? I don't want to read anymore. It's been about a year since we came here with the rear guard. Benjamin Hancock, distribution center west of capital Knot City. Surely this is important. Until then, I'll read it whenever. We're not done yet. Hardly even started and far from finished. They think they got away with it, covered up their tracks and took us out for good measure. No one knows and no one ever will. That's what they believe, but we're still here. Still remember. And we still have the stomach for it, don't we? I know I do. And I think you do too. So stand with me and fight. We'll destroy that fake future Bridges is building for us and reclaim what's rightfully ours. Oh. Gasp. The enemy. Music. I'd rather not. Received as a reward for completing various orders for Sam. Ah, so I can get DMCA. That's my that's my reward, a DMCA. Yay. Can I mute some of them? Darn. Okay. Did we sleep? Let's shower and use... Oh, I should have used the restroom first instead of showering. Do we get more? Do we only get the grenade if we get dragged under? Go ahead and use restroom. Skip.
That should suffice. Glad to see everything's in
Oui.
good working order. Another of our new EX grenades, the number 1. So named because it contains a vaporized extract formulated from your urine.
Okay.
Compared to our first iteration, this EX grenade contains a higher concentration of your fluids, which should make it more effective against BTs. Whenever you avail yourself of your private room's facilities, we will collect the results and produce additional units for your use. So you
Thanks.
needn't worry about running out.
So we throw bath water at them, we throw our urine at them. What about our dookie? Skip. Number 2.
The latest in our line of EX grenades. I give you the number 2.
Nice.
As you may have surmised, this model was produced with various extracts refined from your fecal matter. We
Nice.
suspect that your regular consumption of cryptobiotes has led you to
Oh, so we have to
excrete
eat
certain
cryptobiotes.
compounds that may prove especially effective against BTs. If you
So
would
number
like us
2
to
is
produce
stronger.
more, you need only furnish us with the requisite raw materials via your private room's toilet. I look forward to your feedback.
Yay. I want to make figures. It's over there. 2. Up in rack. A, E. What's that? Another waste products. Harmon theorized that since Sam's blood is effective against BTs, perhaps these substances might work in the same way. Just piss on him. Perhaps these substances might work in the same way, and began collecting them whenever Sam used the shower and toilet. Different bodily fluids are thought to have different effects on BTs, but the exact details remain unclear. Handling other people's bodily waste is not pleasant. Still, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So, if you get turned into a BT, you might get Norman Reedus' body fluids and excrements thrown at you. Okay. Oh, he's shaking his head at me. Yeah, we'll go. Actually, it's already 2. So if we don't put a hat on or sunglasses, he ties up his hair. No. How do I use the printer? I just want to make... I want to make a figure. So my Granada. Granada number 1. Wider area than number 1 grenade has noticeable effects, although the only way to find out what the effect is to try it. Did this not work? Non-lethal anti-BT weapon. Non-lethal anti-BT weapon. Non-lethal. They're all non-lethal. I only have 1. Should we try them all? Auto. It might not work on the tentacle whales. We'll have to find another one, won't we? Delivery. We're going that way. No. We still have so much stuff to pick up from that other place. We left it in that one spot.
Have a pleasant journey. Safe travels.
We left it in that other place. Whoa, buddy! You totally missed the bridge or the bike. You have to go here. Whoops, that's not how you do it. You have to go here. That's not how you do it either. What? Place marker. And what's this? Remove marker. I don't think I need anything there anymore. But we do need to go here. We're gonna go to that spot and then get off. And then I will play again on the Monday. I think I'm going really slow. Goliath. There's so many. How do I turn it off? How do I turn off the music? Oh, let's see how much likes this bridge has. Level 3 too, so other people are building. What language is this? God. If this gets me muted again, I'm gonna be very upset. Ah! Ah! Let me go! Ah! Ah! It's Woo Kid, so you probably got DMCA'd in the first 3 seconds. Who's Woo Kid?
Scanning bridges ID. Verifying
I don't
ID.
even know who that is.
Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear.
Oh boy.
Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
What if we skip this area, cross the bridge? There is no bridge. Is there no bridge this way? What the heck, you guys? What if this way? You know, this is a problem for Monday, Ellie. And it's gonna be perfect too, because I won't remember how to play on Monday. Alright. We did the save. And now... I know. I feel like we did very little today, but I'm pretty sure we got a lot done. This VOD will be uploaded on YouTube. VOD watchers, I love you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys Monday. Let's hope I don't forget how to play. But we're gonna go here and across. This is for me. This is for me to remember. We're gonna... No, we're not. We're not gonna cross. We're gonna go... Where are we going? Where are we going, Ellie? We're gonna go here. And then we cross. Why is there... People are saying they're scary. This is the scary stuff, isn't it? It's here, right? This is technically a route. But then we'd have to leave our bike. We could go here. Okay, we're gonna cross. These are Jippus routes, right? Bike through the horrors. They can't catch me if I'm zooming. Alright. We have a plan for Monday. Will I remember? We'll see. But until then, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for the follow. I shall see you Monday. And Yeah, that's it. Okay.